All right, today we're going to do an introduction to graphing, and I'm really hoping that most of this stuff you've seen before. If not, we'll work on it, but I think a lot of this should be review for you, so let's get it and see what we got here. First of all, it says determine whether these 2 points are solutions to this equation. The only way you can tell is you plug them in and see if they work. And I'm going to say that a lot, see if they work. So plug the -5 in for the x, I'm trying to get negative there, plug the 7 in for the y, and if it works, you'll get 18 when you do that. So that'd be -10 plus 21, which is 11. That is not 18, so that one's not a solution. Let's try the other one. Plug the 3 in for the x and the 4 in for the y. That would give me 6 here and 12 there, which is 18. So that one is. So that's a solution. That's how you can tell just if they work in the equation or not. If they work. All right. To find the x-intercept in an equation, all you do is you put 0 in for the y and solve what's left for x. To find the y-intercept, you put a 0 in for x. It's opposite what you think, and solve it for y. So again, to find an x-intercept, 0 for y, y-intercept, 0 for x. And the reason is this: every point on the y-axis, the x-coordinate's 0. Those are 0 something. Every point on the x-axis is something 0. So that's why the y-coordinate must be 0 and the x-coordinate must be 0. We're going to use that to graph here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the number right here. I'm going to put a 0 in for the y to find my x-intercept. If I put 0 in for y, that the whole 3y becomes 0. So that means 2x is 18, which means x is 9. So I'm going to go to 9 on my x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Barely fits right there. Do the same thing for the y-intercept. If I put a 0 there, that means y would have to be 6. So I'm going to go 6 on my y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm just going to connect these dots, and there's your line. So all you got to do is graph it. Really no work. And I'll show you I'll make it a little quicker for you in class tomorrow, something I can't really do in the video, but I can show you in class. Okay, you can also graph using slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is just getting the y by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 3x to the other side, which will leave me a -5y on that side and a -3x and a -10 on the other side when I move the 3x. Now to get the y completely by itself, I'm going to divide everything by -5, which is going to make that a +3/5, and -10 divided by -5 is 2. Now hopefully you remember this from algebra. That's the y-intercept, so it's going to cross the y-axis at 2. Right here, that is the slope. And remember, slope is rise over run. So I'm going to start at the 2, which I know is a point on the graph. And I'm going to rise 3 and run 2 to right there. Then I'm just going to connect them. It only takes 2 points to draw a line. The last slide before this one, we graphed both the intercepts, so it gave me 2 points. And this one, I found the y-intercept and then just did the slope to find another point. So as long as you can find 2 points, you're good to go. And one thing about that first slide, every single point on this line, if I pick a point right there, right here, I should get a different color, right there, anywhere on the line, all those points solve that equation. All those points are solutions. They all work. Distance formula, you should have seen that before. Probably you came from geometry not too long ago, so that's a formula we saw a lot. All you do is you subtract your x's, square them, subtract your y's, square them, add them up, take the square root. Let's try one here. It says find the distance between these 2 points. So they just want you to, use the distance formula. So I'm going to do the big square roots. Subtract your x's. Really and truly, it does not matter which order you go because you're going to square it anyway, which means you're going to make it positive. Subtract your y's. Doesn't matter which way you go. You're going to square it anyway. So my first one right there, 3 minus -2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. I did 2 things at once there. -6 minus 2 is -8. If you square -8, you get 64. That's a 4. Not a very good one. Let me fix that. 4s just don't work very good on my screen. And then you add them up, and you get 89. 89, nothing goes into 89 that has a square root. So you just stop right there. That's the distance, and that is a number. A square root of 89 is like 9 point something. It goes forever, but it is a little bit over 9. Midpoint formula. Did this one in geometry as well. The way you find the midpoint is you just add your x's, divide by 2, and add your y's and divide by 2. You're just finding that's finding the average. If you add 2 numbers and divide by 2, or add 2 y's and divide by 2, you're finding the average. And when you find the average of 2 numbers, the average of 2 numbers is right in the middle, right in between them. So that's why it works. Midpoint formula. So they're going to give me one here and say find the midpoint. My first part, I'm going to add my 2 x's. And tomorrow I'll probably do most of this in our head. Divide by 2, add my 2 y's, and divide by 2. So my first point, -4 plus 2 is -2 over 2, which is -2. Same thing with the y's. -2 plus 5 is 3 over 2. So you can just leave that 3 over 2. And that's it. That's the midpoint. So there's your distance and midpoints. Equation of a circle. I guess I need to say this about this lesson. It talked about graphing. All these things are things you can do on a graph, and that was a title today. It's really a lot of random, not really random stuff, but a lot of different things today. None of it's really hard, a lot of it's review, but still it's a lot of just different things. So equation of a circle looks like that. The center of the circle is the opposite of what's inside your parentheses. The radius of the circle, the radius is r, which is the square root of what's over there. So I'm going to show you a couple of these real quick. The first thing I'm going to do is going to give you some information and say find the equation of a circle with the radius 5, and there's your center. And remember, when you write your center, the opposite of the center is what goes inside your parentheses. So I'm going to x minus 3 squared. The opposite of -7 is +7 squared. And remember, over here, I'm not going to put 5. The radius is 5, but this is r squared. So I'm going to put 25 over there. And that's all you do. It's a one-step deal if they give you that stuff. If they will give you the center radius, you're good to go. And the last one, last line says graph the circle. So what I don't know about the circle is the center is the opposite of what's inside, -5 and 2. And I'm going to graph that first. -5 and 2. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2. So there's the center. Now, the weird thing about the center is that's not technically part of the circle. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to use the radius, which is 4, because it's the square root of the 16. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 4 this direction. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm going 1, 2. Although it's showing up 3, 4 this way. I'm going to go 1, 2. I'm going up 3, 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4 left. 1, 2, 3, 4 down. And what I'm going to do right there is I'm just going to connect those with a circle. So that whole circle has a radius 4, and the center is 5, -2. That's not a very good circle right there. Best I can do, though. So, like I said earlier, a lot of different things today. A lot of review. I hope it's a lot of review for you guys. And we'll just do all the stuff on the graph tomorrow when I see you. And I'll see you tomorrow.